I'm Raborn Johnson for Sample Library Review, and today I'm checking out Augmented Orchestra by UVI. Augmented Orchestra combines samples from a live orchestra with synthesized sound sources, processed sounds, waveforms, and more in a deep and intuitive engine to allow you to create both orchestral and hybrid sounds. There's plenty of sound sources and tons of presets to get you going, along with almost limitless sound design possibilities. Augmented Orchestra downloads as 17.53 gigabytes and includes 520 presets, 450 layers, and over 62,000 samples. It runs in either the free UVI workstation or UVI Falcon version 2.5.6 or above, and a free iLok account is required. No dongle is required, however. Augmented Orchestra is available from UVI for $299. So today I'm checking out Augmented Orchestra by UVI, and we're doing this today in the UVI workstation. This is also compatible with UVI Falcon, which I personally absolutely love, but wanted to show it to you in the free workstation since I'm guessing that's probably what most of you would access it in. This library is just full of inspiration and full of great samples. There's a live orchestra sampled within, and a whole lot of synthesized sound sources, a whole lot of processed sounds and waveforms, and just all sorts of things that you can combine together in this 4-layer engine. So there's actually 2 sides of the 4-layer engine, and you can modulate between the top and the bottom instrument for each side. So there's just a whole lot going on in here. And of course, you can open up the presets browser to look at Augmented Orchestra. You can see there's just tons of different categories. There's subcategories and a plethora of presets within. You have obviously just your standard orchestral articulations and your natural articulations, and then you get into some more of the processed and really sequenced sounds. So a lot of action, which is really just straight up orchestral sounds, but sequenced and, with a lot of arpeggiation and different things going on. And then you get into some really interesting pulses and hybrid orchestral sounds, pads, and just all sorts of things. There are a ton of presets in here. There's 520 presets. So a lot to dive into. We're going to get in and begin to show you some of the sounds within, and then we will open up the engine and look at that together as well. We'll only get to scratch the surface, but let's dive right in. We're going to look at the first sound, which is within the first category, the orchestral category. This one is V strings crescendo. Really beautiful. A lovely orchestra recorded here. Let's go ahead and skip decrescendo. Let's go to Marcato. Let's check that one out. I just want to give you a taste of some of the just individual orchestral sounds, but really we want to dive into more of the hybrid and pulses and some of that kind of thing. But just really wanted to show you the quality of the orchestral sounds we'll get here, and there's plenty of articulations on offer. Really nice. Now, here's something that's really cool about this engine as well. You have a couple of different things going on. You have a harmonizer. Let's start with that. When I turn on the harmonizer, I can actually tell it to add any interval within the scale. So you can see here it's automatically adding a third, a seventh, and an octave. So let's check that out. I'm just going to be playing one key here, friends. 2 keys. Let's do 3 keys. Now, of course, some intervals hold up on some keys better than others. Let's take the 7th off. And actually, let's go ahead and change this to a 5th. And you'll see just how rich and full you can make this. Just 2 notes playing at a time. And where it gets really fun is you have this scale input function. So you can take the harmonizer off if you want to, and the scale input, you can actually limit the scales that are being played, the keys that are being played, so that it's only going to allow you to touch keys within the scale. So I could do a C harmonic minor, and no matter what I play, I'm going to play a C major scale, and you'll hear the minor there. Well, maybe not. I guess I'm wrong. I think maybe you have to have the harmonizer. Let me try that. That's it. There's the minor. I'm playing. Yep, that's it. And then if I change that to major, you can hear it changes. So the harmonizer lets you pick what notes you want to harmonize with, and then the scale lets you limit that scale so that it only gives you harmonies that fit that scale. Super cool. Now, where this gets especially inspirational to me is when you begin to randomize it. So I can randomize the intervals here. I'm going to go to something like, let's go to a Persian scale, and let's randomize the intervals, and listen to this. Now, some of these work better than others, obviously. I mean, these are some chords or some harmonies you might not think about, which is kind of fun. Really cool. That's super fun. Okay, moving right along. Let's check out one of the pizzicatos. Really nice. Okay, let's check out the staccato. Let's go staccato unison. Okay, let's check out the sustain octave. Beautiful. Great samples. Okay, let's jump down to the trims. Let's do the trim spectral. That should be interesting. let's just jump down. Let's give you, now I'm not 100% sure with the V's and the W's. I'm really not sure what the difference is there. I've missed something there. But just for the sake of hearing one more in the strings, let's do the harmonics here. All right, let's jump to the next category, which is brass. We're just going to do a few of these because, like I say, we really want to get into the meat of the library. But let's do the arcs. Let's do the brass attack arcs long. And you can hear, I think I'm adding vibrato there with the mod wheel. I think that's what's assigned to that. I'm always a fan of arcs. Let's try the double tongue. All right, let's do one more in the brass, and then I think we've got to make our way to the winds. Let's try sustain octave. Right, let's go ahead and do just a couple of the winds. Let's try the attack arcs long. And let's do a crescendo regular. Ooh, that's a long crescendo. That's nice. All right, I'm going to jump over to the chords, and these are really cool because they're orchestrated chords. So you can see you've got brass chords, string chords, winds, and in the entire orchestra. So since we've heard some of each, let's just do some of the orchestral chords. Let's do one long and one short. I'm just going to play one note and see what we get here. Okay, so on the bottom, you have your major chords, and the octave above you have your minors, so you could do something like this. Really, really cool. Let's bring that down a little bit and put a perfect balance between the chord strings high and the chords orchestra long. Really cool. Okay, let's do chords orchestra short 2. And I'm assuming, yep, you got major on the bottom, minor on the top, so. right. And I'm going to go ahead and skip over some of the orchestral effects. Let's just dive right into the natural. We'll do just a few of these. So let's start with cinematic bows. That's really combining the winds. You can see we've got winds ensemble staccato combined with a cello pizzicato Bartok, a strings ensemble staccato unison combined with strings ensemble Bartok. All right, let's go down to ethereal wind and see what that's all about. And we'll begin to dive into some of these sound sources and show you how you can select your own sound sources as well. Okay, let's see what we've got going here. So we've got, it looks like the winds duet fast and Brett's duet fast on the bottom, and the top has the flute aeolian and ordinario and the clarinet aeolian and ordinario. So let's try that. And you can see the modulation as I hold back and forth. And if I hold at the top, so there's tons of options here. Let's actually dive into the engine a little bit. If you select any of these 4 sound sources, you can actually choose your own sound sources, and there's just hundreds to choose from. You can see they've got string ensembles, wind ensembles, FM exploration, synth textures and processed, and synth stacks. So you can select any of those, and for each one, you've got a bunch of different presets that you can select, a bunch of different sound sources you can select. And that's true for all 4. And then as you get into each of the engines, you can click on any of these. So as I click on it, it will actually take me into the edit capabilities. And you can see there's just tons going on here. I'm not going to go into all of it, but just to give you some ideas of what's happening, you can see this little symbol here. This is actually a modulation option. So if I want to modulate the gain, I can click this and I can pick any of these sounds, any of these sources to modulate it. So I could do it by velocity, by how hard I play, by the mod wheel. There's 2 LFOs to choose from. There's even step modulators, which are more like sequencers that you can do as well. And you can use that to modulate the gain, the pan. You can do that with your filters. You can do that with the pitch to change the pitch. You can obviously, do your modulation with each of the individual layers going between, each of the sides going between the 2 layers. So you can see on this one, as I hold that down, it's being modulated back and forth between the first sound source and the second one. And of course, I can turn that up to make it faster, turn it down to make it slower. And the depth will, either increase to make it go further or decrease it to make it just barely wobble between the 2. And what's cool is I can turn on the BPM so that it does it in tempo, in sequence with my DAW. And then that becomes, a sequencer that, it lets you modulate it by beat. So you can do it by quarters, eighths, sixteenths, whatever you want. So if I want to take something like, let's say I want to take this gain, I'm going to turn that down some. Let's say I want to modulate the gain. I can do that with LFO-A. And once I do that, so now that back and forth you're hearing with the gain is nothing more than the LFO, than doing it in sequence with the LFO. And you can change the shape of your LFO. I mean, there's just tons that you can do here. So let's say I want to do something like a sawtooth. mean, just lots going on under the hood. You can do the same things with the effects. So you can, you've got lots of effects going on. You can change those up at will. I don't think you can modulate them. I was just looking at that. I don't think you can modulate them. And then you've got an arpeggio or arpeggiator. You can see that it's disabled right now. I can simply click it to enable it, and I can either turn that into an arpeggiator or a phraser. You can draw in it. You can put it in chord mode. You can change the pitch, the octave, the gate, the pan. There's separate arpeggiators for each layer. I mean, there's just lots and lots going on here. So, whole lot of things happening under the hood. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next sound source, or next preset, excuse me. Let's go to Hammer Split. Got to get carried away playing with this. All right, let's try Iceland. Beautiful. Wow, that's a really nice one. All right, let's jump down to Organish. Very majestic and sounds like an organ. Exactly. Okay, now these are fun. These are action sequences done with an orchestra. So check this out. I'm just going to hold down some different keys and you'll hear that arpeggiator in action. All right, so we've got brass ensemble staccatos, string ensemble staccatos, a soft grain layer, and a Baroque horn. So let's check that out. Wow, that's really cool and so useful. I love things like that. They're really inspiration. They're great not only for layering when you're working on an orchestral track, but they're also great just to get the juices flowing, give you some inspiration to start with. All right, bond emission split with the mod wheel. So I'll try and throw some mod wheel in here as well. And you can see that the keyboard is split in two. So on the green keys, we have sound source A, which is strings ensemble Marcato and strings ensemble Bartok. And then we have some brass and strings on the top. So let's check that out. Super cool. That's really cool. Now I could camp in this subfolder for quite a while. Let's try Climax Minor. All right, brass and crushed orchestra. I'm going to undo. I'm just going to turn the power off on these just to hear what that sounds like. Oh, that's interesting. So I'll just turn these back on. Let's see what we've got. Wow. Lot going on there. Okay, let's try Love Ballet. Now see, I love sequences like that, where it's not just pre-programmed with a single note or with a couple of notes and playing an entire sequence, but where the sequence goes and you actually control the moving of the notes back and forth. I love that. Those are so useful. All right, let's do one more. Let's do Renegade. Neat. All right, let's go ahead and move to the small sections. Let's go to Arctic Movement and see what this is all about. That's nice. It's very small ensemble sounding. Well, it says small sections. Duh. All right. Let's try Delicate Section. Here's the mod wheel. And let's go to Heartstrings. Let's take that down an octave. Let's check out, let's go to the hybrid section. Let's go to Cavern Swells. beautiful. Really beautiful. Let's try deep brass. Okay, let's go down an octave. And let's try long time. I like these hybrid ones because they have those synthesized sound sources layered with the live orchestral sources, and it just really makes some really layered, beautiful textures. Take the mod wheel up. Sounds like we're introducing some distortion with the mod wheel. Interesting. Let's try shaped pad. Nothing like a good hybrid pad when you're getting into hybrid orchestral music. Okay, let's do one more. Let's do THX intro with the mod wheel. So we'll have to introduce the mod wheel and see what we get. No wonder they call it THX. That's just like the THX logo you hear in the theater. Let me do a lower version of that. I bet that sounds cool. That is cool. Really cool. Okay, let's go to electronic. Let's try building. And let's go to Eclipse. That's with the introduction of the mod wheel. Really cool. That's where you go under the hood and you can see, I'm guessing that's thinking that's the gain. Nope. What is it? Let's see. These cool little symbols are really helpful too, because you can see that when I click on this, you can see that there's a velocity and LFO on here. Well, you can actually see that. When you look here, you can see that those are the only two that are lit up, and you can hover over them and tell what's being modulated. Let's actually go over to B and see, where is that mod wheel? Well, I am just overlooking it, friends. Maybe it was over here? I don't know. I'm overlooking it, but that was a really cool effect. Okay, let's go to mountains. The mountains are my favorite place in the world. So how can I pass that up? Can see that pulsing there. Let's go back. I'm always curious. One of the most instructive things you can do when you get a new instrument that has a lot of modulation in it is to check out the presets and see what they're doing under the hood. That really helps you learn a lot. Like you can see here, they've got the filter being affected by the mod wheel. So let's see what happens when I do the mod wheel. Right there. Really cool. Really cool. And that's also LFOB is doing the pan. So you can see the same thing on here. You've got a low pass filter on there that's being modulated. And then if you go to B, looks like just the gain is being modulated by the step modulator. And we haven't looked at the step modulators. You can see those here. You can draw those in, and they even have a preset pattern. So you can grab the presets and actually create those really easily just by grabbing a preset and editing it. Lots and lots of options here. All right, let's go to the pulses. Let's try Detroit Roof. Let me go back. I'm curious to see what's going on under the hood there. Oh yeah, so there's the arpeggiator. And you can see there's different arpeggiators for each of those that are going on. Really cool. All right, let's go to Hollandia with the mod wheel. We'll have to introduce that and see what we get. Really fun. All right, let's do one more. Let's try the mask. Okay, let's just do a couple of lo-fi sounds. How about Lost Castle? And let's try Romantic Tape. Lots of tape machines being introduced there, huh? All right, let's do an ambient sound. How about we go to Eno? Eno. I wonder if that's Brian Eno they're talking about. Or Eno. I never had to pronounce that. Introduce a lot of volume to that one. That one's beautiful. Wow. Frozen. I can never I can never go past a sound, a preset that's called Arctic or Frozen or Iceland, or I'm a sucker for those. And they never fail. That's why I'm a sucker for them. All right, let's do a couple of heavies. How about Crossbow Mod Wheel? That's me going back and forth with the mod wheel. Listen to this. Interesting. All right, and the last category, augmented layers. You can see that it's the last category, but there are tons of subcategories, and each of those have a ton of presets in them. We're just going to play a couple. So let's go to FM exploration. Who doesn't love a good FM sound, right? Let's try Ensemble Machine. And how about we go to synth textures? Or actually, let's go to synth stacks first. Lunar Mood. And let's go to synth textures. How about, Prophet Waves? All right, we're going to do one more sound from the tape orchestra. How about we do a cello trombone duet mix, I guess. I guess that's what that's referring to. Let's go down low for this one. There's just tons and tons and tons of content here. I mean, we have barely scratched the surface. You can see just within the augmented layers, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different subfolders with tons of presets in each one. I mean, you have traditional orchestral articulations for strings, brass, and winds. You have effects. You have these action sequences, which are just fantastic. You've got all sorts of hybrid sounds and pulses, and there's just so much under the hood. And if that wasn't enough, you have just tons of modulation capabilities. You can create your own 4-layered sounds with all of the modulation you want. Tons of different effects that you can introduce. You've got not only the dedicated arpeggiators, but it looks like, if I'm reading the tea leaves correctly, let's see. It looks like you even have, in addition to the arps here, that you can turn on another universal arpeggiator, maybe? Interesting. Wow, there's just so much here. And again, not only can you use this in the UVI workstation, but if you have Falcon, the incredible UVI Falcon, this is also completely usable in Falcon. And not only is it usable, but it's completely unlocked. So that means you can get in and edit each of the individual sound sources down to the minutia. And what I personally love about having this in Falcon is all of the incredible sequencers that Falcon gives you access to, like the rain sequencer and the wave sequencer and the warp sequencer and just the Euclidean sequencer. There's just so much cool stuff. I've begun using this in Falcon, and I've started using it actually with the rain sequencer and even some of the other sequencers. And the inspiration it gives you with these orchestral sources is incredible. And then obviously with Falcon, you have scripts for things like MIDI out. So you have a MIDI out utility. You can record the MIDI that you're playing in, and then you can take that sequenced MIDI and you can transfer it to your other orchestral instruments. I mean, it's just tons and tons of potential within Falcon. And again, when you have Falcon, you can take Augmented Orchestra and completely unlock it in Falcon and just go crazy with it. Obviously, though, with the free UVI workstation, you still have tons of editing capability. As you can see, as we've shown, all the arpeggiators, effects, modulation options, just lots and lots to like. I love the harmonizer and the scale input personally. I think those are just so usable. I could go on and on. Augmented Orchestra, a really great library. I hope you've enjoyed the review. Thanks for checking out Augmented Orchestra with me today. So what do you think? Would you use this instrument in your own tracks? Are you more interested in the presets or in the sound design capabilities on offer here? Comment below and let us know your thoughts. Please like the video and share it with your friends, and also subscribe to our channel. Be sure to check out SampleLibraryReview.com for more news and reviews, and to stay in the know about weekly sales via our weekly deal compressor.